Good morning, and welcome to a special episode of the Eve Prosper Market Show, coming to you live for all of you EU fans here on a Friday morning for me. I'm your host, Lockefox. This is the Eve Prosper Show. I want to thank everybody who is tuned in live. Let's go ahead and get started right off the bat, get right into the meat of it, and no breaks, all the hype. First, I want to thank everybody who tunes in live. You can follow the show. All you got to remember is Eve Prosper. That'll get you to Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and our blog. We are simulcasting both on YouTube and Twitch right now. Our usual time slot is 0300 Friday mornings Eve time. That's Thursday night US time. We are just in a special EU-friendly time zone this time. If you want to support the show, the very best way to do so is through our Patreon. Our patrons keep this show on the air, ad-free every week. They keep us in hardware. They make this show run. I can never, ever thank them enough for their support. And I really got to do one more. I'm going to have to be especially thankful here in just a minute. And if you can't support us directly, that's totally fine. Do share the show with all of your space friends. I do, like every market person, like seeing numbers going up and to the right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and address the blog I released on Monday. I have to announce that Prosper is ending at episode 100. It's time for my space retirement. This show has been exponentially more successful than I ever imagined. And the opportunities to meet a bunch of you guys and work in really redefining what market meta looks like has been astounding, has been incredible. And I just don't have the words to properly thank you guys for it. Unfortunately, what's happened is that my real life job and personal life has been slowly diverging from Eve for a little over a year now. And though I still enjoy the same stuff that makes it the beating heart of Prosper here, the data science, the dev fleet stuff, the economics, the honest truth is that I just can't keep up with Eve anymore. Like when it comes to as a gamer, I have a really hard time devoting, like it's hard to play Eve for less than a 1 hour block, for instance. And so it's been really hard to even get into Eve. It's really hard to find any more hills I really want to climb and not feel like that I should be spending that time somewhere else personally. This isn't to disparage anybody in their space careers. You guys go do you. But after 12 years of this game, I have to draw a line. So I still enjoy the broadcasting. I still enjoy the blog writing. But I would like to change what we're talking about and how we talk about it. So we're going to run out the show to episode 100. That's going to get us into June if everything stays on target. And then we're going to go into hiatus like we normally do. And just not plan to come back after hiatus. The hope is that I can come back with something new and something interesting that may not be Eve related directly. Something that lets me flex some more Python muscle, something that might be a little more tutorializing stuff that maybe in some more real life vein, but I got to go find it. I got to go on some fucking vision quest. So, and yeah, I wouldn't have got here without you guys. Like, this show got me my job and none of this time has been wasted. It's just time to go work on something else. For those who do enjoy the tools will remain open and up as long as I can possibly do it. I have done a bunch of I've been doing just truckloads of work trying to make sure that the Prosper API relaunch has works in such a way that we can keep that running in as much perpetuity as is reasonable. Like, I'm really trying to boil it down to the point where I could just load it up on Cloudflare and pay like $5 a month to keep it up, because that'd be fine with me as long as you guys are getting value out of it. Like, it will have served its purpose. And all the sources will remain open. I am looking right now into a way to share some snapshots of our databases so that anybody who wanted to take up my spot and try to do what I do doesn't have to start from zero, because I really hate that idea of having to reinvent the entire world. I do have some hopes that in the next 3-ish months, as we move, I still have a data science problem I want to solve. And Eve is still the cheapest data to put through that problem. So I do expect to see a few more tools from us in the coming months. So don't just unsubscribe and call me an asshole and whatever. I do intend to keep content coming out, just at a much more technical pace that doesn't really have anything to do with who's fighting who. So with that, I want to thank everybody who's tuned in. I want to thank everybody who supports the show, whether that's subscribing, sharing, Patreon, code contributions, joining our Discord. All of that has been just incredible, and I wouldn't be here without all of you people, which it's it feels wrong to end the show, because it doesn't even feel like it's really my show to end, if I can be that pretentious. I feel like I'm killing an institution, and it sucks, but yeah, that's life. So I think I've given a good 10 minutes worth of self-wank on that. And again, I just want to thank everybody who tunes in. I want to thank everybody who supports us. If you do enjoy market shows, I am trying to make sure that people see the other market shows out there. So there's been, let's see, there was Rodin has been streaming on Event TV, and he's been trying his hand at predictions. We've been working with a couple other people trying to do the 5,000 ISK challenge, where you start with a brand new character and you try to get to 1 billion ISK. We've been we're trying to help other people directly, such as Chris Mellen's Minor Metrics show on YouTube, which is really excellent. And we provide the graphing hardware to go do it. And words. What was the last one? Oh, and of course, the guy who was doing this before me and will now have continued to do it after me, DeLone Wolf, the one and only, who with Eve Talk, which, as far as I know, will keep on going. So do know that I am not your only source for market news. I'm just the best looking one. So with that, let's go ahead and get straight into the show. Enough self-congratulations for one day. We got work to do. Let's start where we always do. And hello, YouTube scrubbers. We are here on Plex. Not a lot to say this week. So we canceled last week because when I looked through the numbers, there just wasn't really enough to make a show. And, well, I don't get a lot of chances to skip a week. And I was expecting that after FanFest, we'd see a lot more people, energized and have the hype going. And I don't know if it's just that all the major movers and shakers are still hungover from FanFest a week on, but things have just not really picked up. And we can see that here in Plex, that we're skirting the 1.2 billion line, but we haven't really moved a whole lot in the last week. looking at the zoom out again, super hot at the right before FanFest, big sale, dump the price. We're back at 1.2, but things are staying relatively steady on the, let me get the actual laser pointer. Things are staying pretty steady on the volume front, so not a lot to say here. We zoom in, supplies are a little bit healthier than they have been, which is good to see, which should be driving the price down ever so slightly. The fact that this price says sub 1.2 and this one says over 1.2 tells me that a lot of the action is going into buy orders at the moment, which is strange. It's sure feels like sort of a holding pattern in the meantime. So it's strange. We should expect some downward pressure with that much product moving into buy orders rather than sells. But I still think things are just a little bit weak. Other big piece here is that we still haven't seen March's economic numbers. I understand that, FanFest was last week, and I'm sure that they have mother of all hangovers to go nurse. But was checking out before we went live and just didn't see any econ numbers, and we're about a week later than they should be. So get on that, CCP. Next, RM tokens. We're probably going to have to change this in the future. Not sure exactly. We'll probably just retire the graph. Not a lot to say here. Skill trading, the margins. I'm a little surprised here that with the price of Plex rising, I did expect the margin to come back up to about the 850 mark. And we're still seeing free money margin, essentially. We still have this 150-ish band per skill point profit margin. But we were at 200, and we're quickly eating that away. Again, zooming in, we see the supplies are a little bit tight. I would expect prices to rise if we would stay if the median would be a little bit lower than it is now. But yeah, I actually expect this price to be, 10% higher than it is, which is a little bit weird. Not a bad buy opportunity if you wanted to hedge your Plex bets ahead of the split, which the split is going to happen on May 19th, just so you guys have it in your calendars. So let's go ahead. I don't have a ton of really interesting things to say anymore about the split, just that it's going to happen, and then I'm going to have to backfill my databases and mess with it on my end. It's probably going to screw up some of our graphs because I don't know if I'm going to have time to do the split refactor. I probably will. If I do it right, I will. But yeah, let's go ahead and go straight into the market indexes, get a general feel for where things are. The interesting thing is, into FanFest, the general market has slumped pretty hard. We see a big dip in mining. We see a slight uptick in ships, but this is more, returning from a slump. And the RMT markets continue to be strong. Again, I expected a little bit more effort in the skill trading market, but, that's probably just me being, optimistic. Looking at the kill rates, again, we see the thing I was complaining about, that a lot of people take FanFest off. This is probably partially that it's spring break, partially that your FC is off getting drunk on the top of the world. FC what do, and everything sort of comes to a stop during FanFest. And we see the value destroyed is creeping back, so it's not like that big a disruption. We saw back ahead of Vegas, we saw a similar dip. We saw a dip right during FanFest, about a week before and a week after. So I'm not ready to go say the sky is falling yet. I am ready to say that, like, the thing that makes this really hard for me as a market show is that I really need heavy warfare to drive volatility, because without a certain amount of volatility, you guys don't need me. Like, if things are just going to be steady state cruising along. Like, you don't need me. You can go make your spreadsheets, and you can go talk with your friends about it. Like, this is a shotgun at a barrel of fish kind of problem. Only when things are volatile enough does this make enough sense to actually work on. That this show really shines in that volatility, and without major warfare, there's just not a lot to talk about from an economic standpoint, where things are okay and they're, just fine the way they are, and they can just churn along in a steady state, no problem. I'm really hoping for that big war, because we've been so immensely productive for the last 6 months that I really want to see all of those new supers actually start grinding up against each other. Unsettled on Purpose is reminding me that it's May 9th, not 19th, when the Plex split happens. Yes, you are right. I am sorry. I'm hoping that we see some more fights. I haven't been seeing enough pot stirring to really say that the next big war is totally going to happen, you guys. Just you wait. I still have a feeling that a lot of people are sort of biding their time for the new moon mining to come out. And then we might see enough of a land grab happening that forces start grinding against each other. But like without the actual mechanical details, without test server access, without the specifics on exactly how the new minerals are going to work, it makes it really hard to make strategic decisions right now. So I don't expect anybody to really beat the war drums and start punching faces until we actually see what they'd be punching faces for. So we'll see. Speaking of minerals, let's get into it. We're seeing things start to track up in Tritanium. We are at 4.5. We were under the last couple of weeks. If we zoom in, we were seeing a big glut in supply, which is starting to ease. And especially right now with this buy spread, not a bad spot to jump in at a 4.25, a 4.3, aiming for 5.0. In the next week or so. It looks like it's hard to tell if this is weakness because miners are just becoming less are feeling the pressure from the nerf, or if this is just an activity slump thanks to Fanfest. It's a little hard to predict if we're going to stay at 30 billion units or not. So it's an interesting spot. It's a little hard to pick. I really like this buy order personally. And even if you ended up selling at 4.6 or 4.7, like, you could probably get your 10% that you wanted if you can get in low enough here. Pyrite is doing a quick bump up to 6, though volumes are looking a little bit weak. Again, similar story. We're seeing it was very hot the week before Fanfest and has been tapering off into Fanfest. It's sort of primed for a little bit of a bump here, just over 6.0. I don't think it's as good a buy-in as the Trit thing, so I wouldn't really bank on Pyrite here. I think there's an opportunity to make more money if you wanted to hold my feet to the fire, but I don't think, unless you can get a 5.5 or a 5.6 buy order, I really wouldn't want to jump in on this. The spreads just aren't in your favor if things go wrong. Mexilon has been our darling, and if you've checked out, we have, what do we have? We have predictors running on AdamForEve.com, and he's got, or AdamForEve.eu. Please don't tell me I got that wrong. He actually added in a database to help keep us honest. And we have the predictor says that Mexilon is primed to do a big upward bump. And I tend to agree with the sentiment. I just have a really hard time telling you when. And when tells you, how far you can actually expect to make. Like right now, the predictor's saying that like you can make that Mexilon's going to be at 100 ISK in the summer. And that's like sitting here as a normal rational person who isn't a computer and actually understands the way the things work. That's a little bit laughable. But like if we got up to 85 and then spiked, yeah, we could hit 100. If we slump down to 70, 75, we could spike up to 85. Like I sort of expect a 10 ISK bump. I just don't know when it's going to happen, which is sort of a hard thing to do with a hard thing for you guys to leverage. Like we're seeing supplies got really weak over Fanfest, but we didn't see a lot of positive pressure because there just wasn't with the supply slack. We also saw demand slack. If this starts to dip down under the billion ISK mark, sorry, not the billion ISK, the billion units mark, we could be in a growth opportunity, but I don't expect that to happen until the moon changes actually launch, which means I wouldn't expect a sell before the start of June. And as that is, I mean, absolutely do some opportunistic buy orders. Try to get something in a 72.5, something in a 70 ISK buy order. Like if it doesn't fill, then you have no liability. But it's really hard for me to tell you exactly what to do here because I think that we're going to be in a bit of a weird, unstable spot. And as soon as the actual trigger hits, as soon as this market lights, it's going to get hot fast. And it's a good opportunity to jump in now. Especially it's a great time to be really opportunistic and like put in those 70 ISK buy orders and those 72 ISK buy orders, and slurp up some of these hanging bits that people might be just chucking into the buy order thing without looking. And then, when it pops, well, okay, if it falls down to 70 in the next month, yeah, you're a little bit negative underneath that. Like you're kind of losing, but if it then comes back up to 80, 85, well, I mean, if you're playing down here at 70 and the market resets to 85 or 90, like you have this much extra margin to take to the bank. So, I would be cautious. I would limit the real volume I held in this. Because again, it's a waiting game. I know that it will hit the price. I don't know when it will hit the price. And that makes it really hard for me to give you guys really strong, advice here in this case. I think it's a good buy. I just don't know when you'll get paid. Next, ISAGEN, the one I shit on week over week, is trending up towards 55. Volumes are still a little bit anemic. Zooming in on supply, we're seeing supply continue to track up. So I think we're in for a dump. What we don't see here is today's action where we popped the 53 ISK price and are trending down to 48. With as much of this stuff that's laying around, I can't give a prediction above 40 ISK, but like this is such a loss leader at the moment for the amount of supply coming out, the actual demand generated. ISAGEN just continues to make me mad. Next, Noxium. We have been in this sort of... Noxium does this weird pattern where we'll stay steady and then we'll stair-step somewhere new, and we'll stay steady and we'll stair-step. If we zoom in, we see the supplies are getting really tight. And in fact, if you're watching the show right now, we're in for a real spike here in the next 12 hours if things don't turn around, where the supply has really choked off. We're just not seeing the number of units on the market, and we could very easily, if you're watching this right now live, you could go buy in right now at 360 or 375 or 370, whatever it's at right now, and hold for a over 400 price. And I think you could get it this weekend. If it spikes, it's going to be really fast. So you need to be on top of it. I would not buy this if you're going to go anywhere, if you're going to do anything but play Eve all weekend. If this is a stay at home and play Eve weekend, Noxium might be your bet to go put some bucks on. If you are going to go out and enjoy the sunshine, the spring sunshine, well, I wouldn't buy Noxium. You're probably going to miss the spike. Zydrene has been tracking down, but is recovering up to 1K. I think somebody who just really loves round numbers here on Zydrene, because supplies are being bought out. We're getting reasonably thin. Shows again positive pressure, but with everybody back from Fanfest, I would not bank on this trend turning into a positive price. It's possible. I'll probably eat my words next week, but I think that this is just a factor of how many people are sitting on their hands rather than a real thing of where the product is going. So give it one more week before you try to make any drastic movements here. If you bought in at 95 here in the low, I'd be looking to sell at my over 1K mark. Like, just take this margin and run with it. It's not quite as much as I'd like to get, is again the reason I don't love this. Because I still think it's going to turn around and keep heading down. I still think that we can generate way more Zydrene than people are actually using. So I've said it 1,000 times on the show. Megasite is tracking down, was at 1,300, is heading towards 12. Again, supplies are very hot, and this is again why I don't like where the Zydrene picture is. The prices are heading up right now, and supplies are tipping off just a little bit. But as soon as those miners come back from Fanfest, and as soon as everybody's out in the world back to 100%, I think that this turns back around and we head back to the 1.2K mark here on Megasite. And then darling of the show, Morphite down at 9,600. There's been some interesting talk around Tech 2 with the new moon mining change. I talked a bit in one of the post shows, I think 2 weeks ago, that I am annoyed where Tech 2 is in the meta. That after all of the Tyricide and all of the rebalancing, we have a great tactical landscape, but like the price premium on Tech 2 for the actual tactical premium just doesn't line up. So I was bemoaning that I'm worried that if you drastically increase moon supplies and we half the price of materials, just as sort of a cartoon, that we could end up in a really weird spot that it hurts a lot of industry people. And this just might be me being biased, being that was my bread and butter for the longest time. And I would love to see more Tech 2 used. Like, you get a lot of really great unique bonuses on Tech 2. But like, maybe an assault frigate shouldn't be 15 or 20 million. It should be 6 or 7. And I mean, there's nothing stopping that from being an okay thing. I'm just more worried that we're going to increase supplies by 2-factor and only increase demand by a 25% factor is sort of my only concern here. Though this isn't a bad place to park some bets ahead of the moon mining thing. So if you believe me in the idea that the new moon mining being active will most likely generate more raw units of the moon goo that we use today. Like, it's hard to believe a system would generate less than the passive system, right? Like, never underestimate the power, the power of space nerds and the amount of free time they have. And let's say we doubled the amount of moon goo out there, or maybe tripled the amount of moon goo. It's going to hurt a lot of people in the short term, but the morphite supply is relatively static. It's efficiently generated. Like most of the morphite that can be mined is already in the system. And if Tech 2 production goes up a 2-factor, then morphite demand has to go up a 2-factor. And I don't think there's enough mining capacity. I don't think there's enough mining opportunity to actually generate 2 times as much morphite. Is that this might be the dark sleeper horse in your, sorry for mangling that, that analogy. I think this might be your dark horse for betting on moon mining, that this supply chain is extremely static. And if everything comes out to this conclusion, this would be a great place to put one of your second or third order bets. Now, if moon goo gets more expensive, well, you're kind of fucked. So I wouldn't put a ton of money on this. I think this is a cheeky long bet that you get the opportunity to look like a super genius, or you're just going to make no money. You're either going to make a ton of money or you're going to make no money. I don't think you're going to lose a lot of money. Is my expectation here. So if you want to look like a super genius, some of this sub 9K morphite would be super genius territory in my book. Similar to buying PI ahead of Citadel, I think this is a decent bet. But of course, as always, we don't have enough details, so it's all speculation from my spot. And this is just me and my dreams playing out. Fozzie can absolutely completely ruin my predictions and make me look like a total hack. So I demand 10% of the profits and 0% of the losses if this works out. Moving on to fuel, another darling in our analysis. It was interesting. We saw we're finally starting to see some of the expected changes after the dev blog was announced. We're seeing Galente fuel was tracking way up and now it's collapsing. We're seeing some of the horsepower in nitrogen start to slack. I'm a little weirded out here that I seem to be the only one saying this, that I expect all of the isotopes to really converge in price after the moon mining change, since the isotopes are going to be part of the reaction chain now, so that actual isotopes get consumed at a rate that is expected and designed for. And which means that if you believe me, then these helium and hydrogen isotope prices are absolutely great buy-ins, and nitrogen is get the hell out of town. Like, I can't remember if I said 700 or 800 was my target in the long term. But the fact that these haven't turned up yet is a little bit weird in my book. Like, I really expected more action here on the bottom of this graph and a little more dip in the nitrogen. Again, this might just be a blip thanks to Fanfest, so I might be eating my words next week, but I calls them like I sees them. Next, looking at fuel block costs. Again, it's great to see that the margins have spread out a bit. Again, if you guys were watching months ago, I was complaining that why would you be building blocks when this is your margin? Like, oh my God. And we had a similar collision over here. The margins are getting a little tight again. So again, I wouldn't want to be a producer per se, but prices are looking relatively stable. Nothing interesting happening in strontium. Strontium is our canary in the coal mine for Sov warfare. We watched this looking especially for a supply dip. Would be telling us that somebody's going to go kick somebody's teeth in. We're really not seeing that. We were seeing a slump in the heavy water orders as people transitioned out of Rourke mining is the best thing ever into the people who are actually going to Rourke mine. Things are a little bit weird. I kind of expected supplies to be higher than they are, but nothing much to say here in heavy water. And then moving on to our outliers. So not a ton to say in the moon markets right now. I had said to steer clear of these ahead of the moon goo thing. I still think that we're in a case of the supplies probably will increase. Just because there's so many active hands on it, it's hard to believe that more active hands would make less product. Like, that doesn't feel like compelling game design. It's of course possible with programming. All things are possible, but not a lot to say here. I think it's interesting watching some of the metamaterials. The buy and sell spreads are getting pretty wide. But these are really, the metamaterials are really spiky and weird. So it's hard to really talk about them on a week to week basis. Next, PI4 materials are a little bit down this week. Again, if you're looking for an on-ramp ahead of the Moongoo release, now's a good on-ramp for most of the products. I don't think you're going to make a ton of money. The buy orders on organic mortar applicators right this second are pretty awesome, but like, that's just a this weekend thing. I still think that you could make a decent amount of money. Like, you'd be able to take your 10% or 15% or whatever. This is not a bad time to jump in. I don't think you're going to make a ton of money. I don't think you're going to make your 20%, but now would be a good chance to buy in. Hopefully for a June, 10th release is what we're aiming for. That hasn't been announced anywhere. It's just sort of gut tuning. Moving on to ships, the Fenrir took a beating this week. Weird to see it diverge down so low, given that most of the minerals are tracking upwards in the last few weeks. It's not a very popular freighter, so it just could be some idiot didn't know what they were doing. Now's a decent chance to buy one if you wanted to, but again, this isn't really an investment opportunity so much as isn't that weird? Next, the Falcon was popular. Looks like somebody bought it out last week. Prices are coming back down, and I would be watching for an overcorrection if you need a Falcon. If you are completely devoid of honor and need to replace a Falcon that shouldn't have died in the first place. Not a lot to say on the Outliers this week. Like I said, there just weren't that many flags to go through. So, I mean, I'm a slave to the numbers, man. Like, if there are no numbers, there's nothing to talk about. With that, let's go talk about some predictions we've done in the last week. The Rattlesnake is looking really thin on the supply side. So if you were holding on to him, now's a great chance to be selling. I wouldn't. You could try to play some of this buy order spread here if you were particularly adventurous and can get a cheap buy order. Like, all power to you. But I think the action for this is going to be over this weekend. Just thought it was interesting to see this supply blip happen finally. Next, logistics cruisers. I said on the way out last time was, oh my god, look at the Basilisk. No, I said, I tweeted it was, oh my god, Basilisk, lol, and it's coming back to normal. Not a lot to say there. So, I basically tweeted last week's show of like, here's Plex. Here's the thing I see. Huh, that's funny. Anyway, see you next week. Basilisk was one of the things I pointed out. And then last is the violence report. Not a lot different this week. We're still seeing a lot of VNIs out there in the world. We're still seeing Macarial fleets get whelped. Not a lot of interesting stuff going on here. Popular systems, interesting to see GE TAC 8 and GME TAC PQ on the list. Uedama also, interesting to see that during FanFest, somebody was screwing around in Uedama. And nothing a lot to say on the region side, only that Uedama really screwed up the Citadel counts for the month. Otherwise, things are looking pretty lean. Again, the thing I want to see, the thing I always want to see is more PvP. I want to see more people getting destroyed, because destruction is the sink that drives the economy. And I think a lot more people need to get off their fat asses and actually start fighting people rather than fighting rats. So with that, that's going to bring the show to an end. I want to thank everybody who tuned in live here on our special European-friendly time slot this week. I want to thank everybody who has been so supportive across all of the platforms. If you want to talk with me, the very best way to get in touch with me is through our Discord, which links should be down in the doobly-doo below. Do come and join us. I am usually open for PMs on that platform all day. I do still you can still get me on Twitter and in-game, and I'll even check my Facebook every once in a while. So I try to answer every bit of mail that comes my way, but I am only human. I want to thank everyone who has supported the show up to now. Being 92 episodes in is just, never thought I'd actually run a show like that. That to have this sort of staying power, to have this sort of audience, it really does mean a lot. Do keep tuning in, and do keep being active in the spaces. I do love hearing from you guys. I do love talking the shit about all of this stuff. So thank you, everybody who tuned in. If you want to tune in live, the very best way to do so is both on YouTube and Twitch. We're live on Fridays at 0300. That's Thursday night US time. We stream 1080p on YouTube. You guys can see all of our graphs in the highest definition possible. If you want to support us directly, we still have our Patreon. It does still keep the lights on. It keeps our server running. It's going to help pay for our backup solution so that we don't lose any of the data we've been generating for 3 years now. And that's going to, like, I hate to be like I'm leaving, but please still pay me. But the honest truth is that every dollar that goes into there is essentially paying for server time in the future for Prosper to keep running. Do get subscribed. There will still be plenty of great graph porn. I'm going to try and do a office hours stream sometime either this weekend or next weekend, so you guys can get all your questions answered. And the only way to really know when those are going to happen is when you're subscribed to all of our stuff. So with no more rambling, I've been your host, Lockefox. This has been the Eve Prosper Show. Thank you, everybody who tuned in live. We will be back next week with more market news for Eve Online. Ciao.